Casey here, back at it again with another one. Complicated sections, curvatures, belt lines, inside edges. I'm going to show you how I made this panel with simple tools. Stick around. So we're back on the old Chev cab. In the last video, I went and turned around and built this from shelving. Got that section all replaced, all done. Came out really nice. We've after getting a bunch of stuff done on this now so far. I got all the holes welded up in the back of this. Got the back of the cab done. Over here I got holes in the roof done. And other side, this one, right? Over here we got this bottom section done, the holes were here done. I got sections welded up and around here. I repaired this section here. So we're getting ready now to get into this one here, okay? This is a bit of a tricky one, but before I get started at that, there's one more thing I want to get finished up because I'm trying to finish up everything on the lower side. Over here, this panel is good except for the very bottom. So what I'm going to do first here now is I'm going to go ahead and get this section here all replaced and get it done and out of the way. I have a small spot there I want to repair and get that done. Got to be welded up and grinded and dressed right here. Other than that, then I'll have all the bottom side of it completed and I'll be happy with it too on the outside. I still got to do the floor sections in here and a couple of braces. I'm leaving that alone for now, okay? My main concern is to finish the outside of the shell. So I'm just going to blow through this here, take you guys along. I'm not going to talk about it much because you're going to be more interested in that one over there. So let's go ahead now and get this one started and get it welded up. And there you have it. All welded in. It's basically the same thing I did on the other side. You saw me there. I was having some troubles with the welder. The tip in the welder needs to be replaced, and I was trying to push through it because I was trying to get this welded up. Didn't want to get up, go over and take it all out. It's my own fault. You can see there was a bit of splatter in that from the welding, but yeah, I got it all in there, and I got it all ground down, and that is done. So you can see it's pretty well straightforward. I done a video on this here on the other side and covered what I did on it, so I just banged through this one here to get it done because you guys are interested in the other side. Now we're getting into the fun one. With this massive hole here, you look closely at it, it's been welded up before. The entire lip is gone, half the belt line is gone, the entire crease is gone off it, it's been patched up. Are we going to overthink this one? Say it with me, people. No. I'm looking at this now, and I was going to make an entire new bead and everything for this here, but unless I sizing it all up from here up, it's fine. And if you close that off there, that's just a bend, okay? Just a simple bend there. So I think we should start off by concentrating on getting this belt line section here looking good, okay? Well, let's look at the other side. Now over here, we got this belt line to deal with. We got to deal with this section here. We got to deal with this section up along here. There's a bit of a curvature going up this way here. Plus, we also got to deal with this flat section in here. And then we got to deal with this flat section in here. Now, I'm looking at this here now, and I'm thinking this will be one piece, this will be one piece, this here will be one piece. So we're going to make it 1, 2, 3 pieces that we're going to use to make this piece here. I can sit down and probably try to duplicate that belt line and everything there now. But the bottom of the belt line is fine on the other side. So you can see it here now. All I want to see is this here is continuous down through here, and then it got this shape to it here, because that's all missing on the other side. So I'll use this here to go by on the other side, and you look at it, it kind of like flows nice and straight down through there, and you look at it straight across. If you look straight up and down on that, that's a straight line. So now that we got a game plan, I'm going to remove as little of this as I can, because this is all going to interfere with this welding and everything. I can see this is into this piece out here, and it's all damaged and everything. Down here, we got it to this belt line. We're good to here. So I'm not going to interfere with this here. I'm just going to take it from up here and cut this section out along here, and then cut it. I'm going to leave this little crack here for now. There's a little crack there. I'm just going to leave that cut through in through there. I could probably get into that later, but it's not that bad. I just want to get rid of all this mess here. Now some may be saying, Tony, why are you cutting it out for? Couldn't you use that for a template? No, because this has been welded up and there's a pile of welding and everything done on it. If that was like a rusted hole that has never been tampered with and just rusted out, you could use it for a template then. But for now, because all this here has been buggered up and all back here has been buggered up, I wanted a clean slate to go with. I had a little weld here. I think I'm going to grind that down, dolly that back a bit. But you can look at this now as I got a clean slate. There's nothing there. Down here, I got to put a bend in it. So let's not overcomplicate this. I got to get a piece of metal that's this big, probably about this big, to here, okay? I'm going to take a piece like that. I'll put this bend in it, start it there. Not going to worry about none of this, none of the shapes up here, nothing yet. Just concentrate on getting this belt right here. Say about 7 inches, give it lots of leeway. And say 6 inches, 7 by 6. I got this panel here. This is what I cut off from the piece that I just put in there. And I measure this up. It's 8 inches. And there's 8 inches. So there's my piece of steel. So I just turn around and I'll just square off this piece, and I cut the ends off it. It's bigger than what I want. So now that I got a piece figured out, next thing I got to figure out is what to do first. We got a lot going on here, okay? We got all these edges here to play with. You got this roll and all this type of stuff. But the first thing I'm looking at is this here crease. I want to put a crease in it going along here. And I want to get that angle right there. You can see this comes up, and you can see that inside angle, because this comes up and then it rotates back around again. But right here, up to about 1/4 inch high, down, that angle there. Not going to worry about this roll. Not going to worry about this roll. I just want to get an angle that I can lay in there. and it'll actually have that crease like that, and work on getting this line here, this tightness here, and get a bend put in it, so we can start there. That's where we're going to start, right inside that crease. Now, where do I put the bend? Right here is where I want the bend, and I want it to come down, say, probably to the bottom, the middle of this line here. So that'll give us what? That'll give us an inch. I want to give it an inch and a quarter on a piece of metal, so that'll give me a bit more on the bottom side of it. And I'll come up inch and a quarter, and I'll put a bend. I'll take my old Vevor brake here now. And just going to figure out where inch and a quarter. Oh, geez, that's 2 inches. I don't need that much. I need that much there. That should do. Give it a little more. That's 1.5 inches. That's plenty. Clamp that down. I'm going to take my time now, put the bend in this, because I don't know how much of a bend I need. We'll try that first. That's where we'll start to first. Seems like a lot, so I'm going to take some of that out of it. So I'll go over and take some of that out of it and try it again. Now, I'm not overthinking it. I already bent it back a small bit, but it's got to be hammered. But wrong, make a mistake. Sharpen it up too. Needs be a little bit sharper. All I'm trying to do here is get that there. You see it rolls there, and it's got the roll there. Now, worried about this up here. Just trying to get that crease and set up where I want it to. So I got it there now. Now I can come down here and start working on this bottom roll. You can see it's got to be rolled off about here. I'll mark it. I'll start rolling this across here to roll down like this here is being done. Nothing fancy. I just got a large piece of pipe here clamped into the vise. I'm going to start with a large radius and see what it looks like, and then if I want it smaller, I'll downsize it. All I did was right here, I marked it where I felt the roll had to start. So I lined it up on this now, and I'll just do a slight roll on it. See that coming together there now? Look for a test fit. That's not bad there. Put a little tiny bit more in it. I'm gonna put a smaller pipe in there. This scrap pipe I got lying around. It's nothing fancy. Everybody got a bit of this kicking around. And I'll do the same thing again now. I'll just tighten it up a bit more. Starting to look good there now. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? So now I got that like that, and I got this going along here. Now you can see up here I got a roll here, so I got to roll this up here now to roll back over. I'm going to work on getting this shape here now, going up here. Not worried about none of this still. We got this figured out. Now I'm going to start worrying about getting this figured out. So you can see it comes up probably 1/4 inch above it, then it starts to roll off of that. I'm just going to use my old vise because it's here. All I want to do is I want to clamp it in there. I just want a soft roll on it. So I'm just going to push down on it myself, very gently, to get that roll started, to come up from there. You see I got a little bit of a roll there now. I'll go over and do a test fit on that. Seems to be a bit much. I'll go over and I'll take a bit of that out of it, and I'll try it again. And there you go, just a quick little tweak, and now I'm close. Now I got to work on the upper side of this now, coming across there. So I got to work my way around and just bend that around there. Now this one's going to be a bit tricky because I got a double curve going on there. So I'm going to bring this down here. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to go over to the other side. We're going to use this section here to get this roll. Then I can slide it back and start bending it up. All I'm after is to get this section here, because this comes back and tips out. But I want to get this here first. So I'll come up here where this is to, and I'll get that shape there. See, I got that shape there now. And I'll go over on the other side now and start figuring out the taper off, because this got to taper up, see? So now this will go about right here, like so. What I need to do now is when it comes back, this here has to roll upwards. So now I got to start twisting this up. She's going to start fighting me now. I'm going to have to start beating on that, I think. Yeah. So now I'm going to start beating stuff up. I'm going to put this here and stretch this area here up now to get it so it'll actually come uphill this way here. Now, I've been playing around with it here and I got a curvature going up to it, but I'm looking here and I'm saying to myself, like, Tony, I don't need none of this metal here because this is all good here. So I notice this is good back here, so if I just mark it here, say this section here, put that over that, and I'll just cut that off there, fall on there. It'll be easier to roll. It'll be easier to roll this way here with a straight edge across here, and then it's trying to do it on this corner. So I'll cut this off now, and then I'll start shaping it again. Just chopped it off there, and I'm fitting it in here now, and I think I can cut it a bit more here. So I can start bringing it back from there. Trying to get this here to go with the flow, so it's just a matter of rolling the edge of it this way here. So I'll come down to about here, and I'll trim that off there. That's better. Now I can put the shape back in it again. There you go. Now I'll just roll this edge here, just slightly. That's all I'll do there. It's a lot easier to curve like a 1/2 inch piece of metal than it is to try to curve a big large section. I was trying to curve this earlier with all that bulk up there, and I was trying to move all that metal. Now when I got this little lip along here, I can manipulate this edge because it's only a small area I'm trying to manipulate. Metal will move so much, okay? Very easy with simple tools. It's just the larger panels where you got to get up, try to get all that there to stretch up there. You're going to need big elaborate tools to stretch that, right? But doing it this way here, you can always like 1 inch, a little less than 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. You should be able to manipulate it simple. So I'm here now, and I got the panel fitting nicer. So they got to be worked a small bit, but it's fitting nicer. And you can see now where I got this cut off here, it's easier to work up to that post there. Now I'm running into the same issue over here. How much of this do I need up here? I marked it here to give me an idea. I don't need to go past that there. So now I can work on getting rid of that. So I marked it here. I'm going to chop that off there next. So now that I got that chopped off, now I also got enough material there. I got to bring this corner here down. Okay, I'm going to put more of a roll in that there. You will find as the piece gets smaller, it'll be easier to work. Trying to do all this on a large piece, it gets really, really hard. Okay, this has to roll back. I have a sort of a twist on it like that. There you go. Roll it down a small bit. Now we're getting somewhere with this. As you can see, I got a clamp down there, and you can start to see the shape of it coming together there. I'm using the bottom of this here to line up with the bottom of the belt line to make sure that it's straight. Pull it down a small bit, like that. That'll keep my belt line straight. That'll keep everything up here going good. And you can see now, I got to start from this point here now and roll up. She stuck up a small bit on this corner. So I got to tap that down there a bit on that corner there. Going across, probably say from there to there. That got to roll that way a small bit. But the rest of it is fitting me good. Down through here. Down along here, okay. Next thing I got to do now is figure out this section here. I'm going to creep up on it and basically trim off a bit of it and size it up what I got to do. I'm just cutting it straight off down through here. Not worried about this end lip yet. I just want to get this top panel made. So I give that a little tweak up there now. I got that laying down nice. It's laying down up across there. As you can see, I think I can work with that. Down along the bottom here, I got a parallel on the bottom lip. So what I'm going to do here now, because I keep wanting to return it to this here, I'm going to put a couple of clecos in this here, so it has to return to the same place every single time. So I say I'll put one here somewhere, and I'll put another one down here. Now I got a cleco down here. It took me a couple of tries up here, 3 attempts to get this right up here, because every time I clamped it on, first thing I noticed is I had this going uphill. So I had to let it go again, clamp it up here again. I had to clamp down here, but I clamped it too high, so I had to make sure this stayed parallel. And then when I rolled this over, it was up too high the first time I done it. So this section right here was up too high. So I turned around, I had to push it back over, and I pushed it over, I raised this up, then I had to let it go again, then I lined this up again, pushed this over, and then done it again. So I got a clamp down there now, and what I got to do now is I'm going to mark this here and start cleaving this off. I'm going to cut it a bit long, just so I can get it close to where it's got to go. There's just a slight roll, it rolls up around the back here now, so I think I got enough left here that I can actually trim that to where I'm happy with it. So I'll go ahead now and cut that off. So I trimmed it off, and I got it clamped in place, and I didn't like when I looked in through here. I didn't like the way it looked, because you can see the way that's supposed to look down through there. I end up taking this cleat out again, pushing in on this here, and drilling another hole up here. I think that's 4 times now after moving that one. So now that I got that there in, you can see there's a bit of a lip here, there's a bit of a lip here. So now I'm going to start trimming it back down through here. So it's consistency all the way down through it. So I'll go ahead now and I'll fine tune that so that is resting against this edge here and resting against this edge here. Well, I'm after doing a lot of tuning here now. I'm after moving these again. I'm going to say this is number 4 down here. This is number 5 up here for moving them around. I've been just slowly moving around, keeping an eye on this line here, getting the best fit. I had it all trimmed up. And what ended up happening is I trimmed off too much of it, so then I had to move the whole works of it forward a small bit in order to realign it again. And what I've been using here now, I've been using this piece here to grind this down. I've taken the grinder and grind that down. I did the same thing up here. I removed this, clamped that on there, and I grinded this to that shape, and then I just turn around and met the two, just taking my time. Okay, so now that I got that done, like I stand back and look at it, it's got a nice flow going down along it there, which I'm happy with. I might take a template off the other side and double check it, piece of cardboard, and run it down this section here on the other side just to see if the flow is the same. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I took a piece of cardboard, trimmed it up, and I go from the bottom of the line here, and I went up along like so, and just kept trimming it till I liked the way it was shaped, and it fit in there nice. So now that I got a template, I'll take this and bring it over to the other side. Just repeat the process here, line it up there, line it up down here, and you can actually see that if you look straight in, it changes here. So I got to cut this back a bit here and have it so it look up here looks good, and then about right here it loses it, and then it comes back down around here somewhere. So I need to cut back this section right here a bit more. I'll use this template now to fine tune that, and I'll set it up so this here is parallel to that there. That looks good. I'm pleased with that. So a lot of time was spent getting this here where I was happy with it. I'm happy where that's to there right now. It will have to go back a small bit because I'm going to do the overlap down here now to make all this work. What I'm going to do is, because I got this done, I haven't worried about none of this yet, and I wasn't even thinking about it. All I want to do is make sure that I got a nice straight edge going down here. This here fit, this flowed, this body line lined up here, this had the right shape here, and this flowed up and uphill up here to follow the cowl. Now that I got that all done, now I can start working on this piece here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the downward piece first, okay? I'm going to make this in 2 sections in here now. I'm going to make the flat piece to go here. I'm going to make the flat piece to go here. Not going to overdo it. Not going to make a little tiny piece that'll fit in here. I'm going to get a piece that's shaped like here and fits here and lays up against that on the angle that I want it on. And I'm just going to tack weld it on the back side here. I'll cut it all off after and trim it all up to fit. I just want to get a big enough piece in there that I can hold on to and weld it on. So I'll go dig up a piece of metal now and trim it up and start fitting it to that. Found a piece from the other side, from the panel that I cut out. I still got some of that left. I'm not going to overthink this, okay, people? I'll lay that here like so. Get it half close. All I want to do is just start fitting the shape there. I'll trim that out there now, and then I'll start fitting it in there so that it actually fits in there better. I'm not going to worry about none of this. All I'm worried about is getting that angle and getting a nice curvature here so that it actually goes up there and down here. Nothing fancy at all. I'm not concerned about making it perfect down in here. All I'm after is getting the angle that is here. If you look closely, there's a bit of an angle going this way here. And I want to get it so it lays flush against this here. And it comes down and it's flush right here. And it's flush right here. Everything else I don't care about, okay? That fits in there. And if you look in there, I can get that to lay down there, all the way down through. When you come out here, this is what you're looking at, okay? All I'm going to do there now is I'm going to weld that on, just like it is there. Get the welder going, and I'll tack weld that in along there. So that'll be my edge there, and I'll get that piece welded in. That's all I got done. Not concerned about. All I'm concerned about, I'm looking at, is this here flat edge. This little flat edge in here. I'm not worried about nothing above it. I'm not worried about nothing below it. I'm worried about the angle and it flowing down around here. A lot of times when you're building stuff like this, you tend to overthink things. And you think about 4 or 5 items. Break it down and think of 2 things that you need to look into, okay? What's the 2 crucial things here that I got to be concerned about? This angle, and that is covered all the way down around here and got that shape. The rest of it don't matter, because this is an overlap panel, and you can see why I'm overlapping this here now. This is flush to this panel here now and this panel here. So when this is all said and done, I'll just slide it back and line up this edge with an edge here and an edge down here, and then that'll be parallel. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get another scrap piece of steel, come up to here, come down around to here, to about here somewhere, and tack weld that on. The same process is what I did there. Get this shape here, because this here is a bit tricky. It's not a flat piece. It's got a curvature to it, and it's on an angle, okay? As you can see, that's a bit of an angle when you're looking down across it. So I'm going to take a flat piece of steel now, and shape it to that, and I'll start sliding it in, trimming it, sliding it in, trimming it. When I think it's there where I want it to be, I'll tack weld it on. Just to give you an idea of what's going on here, I got a flat square piece. Now I'm going to curve that a small bit and start fitting that in there. Now you can see what happens, the shape that's there. Now I'm going to turn around and start trimming this off, sliding it back, trim it off, slide it back, till I got that there where I want it to be. I just trimmed off the 2 corners. I'm in place there now. And I'll just take the marker and do that with it. So all I'll do is I'll use this as my guide, and I'll just run that across there. Now give me a more fine-tuned shape. Now I'll take that back, take all the line off of that, and then that should fit in there nice. Just trimmed it back with the marker, laid it flat on that there, slid it in, there's my shape. This here now, if you look at it, the way it's shaped, and there's not an actual square cut on that no more, because of the angle that it's on. A bit more curvature on it, so it fits in there tighter. There we go. Make sure that's nice and flat against all that. Now I can turn around, I can tack weld that along there. That'll be my other lip. I just went ahead now, since it was all there, I had to weld this inside corner anyway, because they're going to have to grind it to make it look like that. But I said I'll go ahead now and get that all welded up where it's still there, so if it wants to move, it moves. And then I just tapped it with the hammer to get it back to the shape again. What I'll do now is I'll let that cool off a bit there now, and I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to weld the inside of this section here, all the way down through here. That way then I can just come back and grind all this off, cut it off out of the way, grind it all flat. I'm going to work on now getting this here actually finished and dressed, okay? And I'll get it all trimmed up so it'll actually fit in the place where I want it to go. So, now don't that look lovely though? Right, professionally done. But the simplicity of it, it looks cruel. Well, wait till you see it finished. This is what you're left with. Let's get that all trimmed up now and welded up. So here's where I'm to. All it is, I cut off all the excess. You can still see, I still got to come back here and weld this side here. Then I've done the same thing on the inside. I trimmed all that off. I want to weld that up along there now. I'm going to go ahead, weld this up. And then I'm going to weld this up. I'm not going to grind this yet because if I grind this, I might make it too thin, okay? That's why I got to weld the back side first right here. So I'll get all them welded up there now. So I went ahead, I got that all welded up on the outside there. And I welded it all up on the inside there. I'm going to go in now and I'm going to grind this off here. All I'm going to use is 24 on the pad there. I'll grind this flat here. I'll grind this flat here and get a nice sharp edge along there. What I'll do then, inside here, I'm pretty well just going to leave most of this alone. I'll clean it up a little tiny bit. Out here, I'm going to start shaping this with a grinding stone. I've got neither one handy. Here we go. Put one of them on the grinding wheel and start shaping up this here. Now this has to be half sharp, so I'll start with that there, and then I'll end up with the grinding one itself, the cutting wheel, to sharpen it up and get that all dressed up. So I got a bit of grinding ahead of me, so I'll go ahead and get that all ground up, and I'll take you back and just show you a bit of it at a time. Here's where I'm to so far. I went and grinded this flat with the 24. I grind that flat there. Now I got changed over to a stone, and I'm trying to grind this inside edge here, right inside here. Grind that grind out because I still got to grind this flat along here. If you look closely at it, you can see that it is pretty rugged. So I'm going to continue on now. I got to grind this flat and grind this flat. I'm going to have to sharpen in this edge here now. This inside edge here is going to be sharpened up, and I'll use the cutting wheel to do that, just slightly using the actual zip blade, these here. I'll actually use one of them to cut it in so there's a sharper roll on it, right? That's all I use for inside edges is the grinding stones and these here just to get whatever shape that I'm after. So I'll go ahead now, get that changed over again now and get one of them back on it again and dress it some more. So you can see here what I got done. I got the inside edge all cut down on it now. Nothing fancy, just using old grinding discs is all I'm using. And I got this here, grinding flat here, and I got this grinding flat here, and I got a sharp edge now going along there. Can we see it? There you go. That sharp edge now is what I'm using to make sure that the line is straight going up along there. Once I got that done, now I got to roll that over and put a rolled edge on it because that's the way it is on the truck. And then what I can do then is once that's done, I got the inside done. I'll tidy this up a little bit in here. I'll leave all this beefiness in here. That'll give it all strength. Because out here is what's important, okay? And I'll grind just this up. I'll probably trim this back along here. Make it smaller, not worried about the holes anymore now. And I'll trim this off on the bottom here, where I want it to go. Trim that off, and have it so that I can trim this off along here. I might just cut this straight down through here, just to keep it simple, so I can get the cut wheel in at it. And that way I can start doing fitting on this here and sliding it back and dropping it to where it has to go. So I'll go ahead now and get that finished up and get it trimmed up. And there you have it. Got it all trimmed up. All little bits cut off it here and there. And I got all, I haven't done much in here. I'll just give it a quick sanding. And left all the beefiness in there. That'll be all painted later because you can get at the back side of this one. But I trimmed it all up to where I want it to fit. And I got the nice rolled edge right along the edge there now. Nice sharp inside corner. And I got the lip on the outside edge. I trimmed it off across top so square there. I cut off the bulk of this. That's why you see me start with large panels all the time, because it's a lot easier to trim it down to make it look nicer, okay, than it is to try to add to it later on. So that's why I always make panels bigger than they should be, and then I trim them down when I'm ready to fit them in the car. Let's go over and see what this looks like fit on the car. Now the fun begins. I got it all made. I got the panel made. Now you can start to see what's going on here. What's going on, have to go on here is this panel has got to go down, okay? It also got to go back. All right, so that's what I got to work on now. My plan is here now is from about right here all the way down to about here somewhere. It's all going to be cut to fit. And right here in this corner is going to be cut to fit. I can do the whole thing cut to fit, but I want to leave something there that I can actually clamp to actually fit it in place. And the rest of it I'm going to cut about that, and I'll cut about that. But to get this here edge right, get this edge here right, and get this edge here right. That's what I'm after. My goal is to get all them to line up nice. So I'm just going to hold this in place now, put a pair of vice grips on it, and I'm going to scribe around the whole panel so I can actually see what I got to cut out. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it back to about here somewhere, remove all this section here, remove all this section here, and remove this section right here. I want this to line up. I want this here to line up with this here, and I want this here to line up and this here to line up. So they're my crucial points that I'm going to get to line up. And I'm worried about none of this up here. Just get the cut this out of the way so that I can overlap it again. I can slide it back and get these to line up and get it to drop down. And same with over here. So I'll probably come back to about here somewhere, so there's lots of room for it to fall. Get that cut out. Right off the bat, I made mistakes. That's minor. When I scribed this, I scribed it down here, and I knew it had to be moved back, and I cut it off. Instead of leaving so much of the line there, I ended up cutting it off, and when I moved it back, it left me with a gap. But that's fine. I can get at the back side of it, and I can actually use the brass on the back side to weld it up. If I couldn't get behind it, all I'll do is I just weld a strip on this piece here and then grind it and fit it to that there. But I'm not too concerned about that. That's fine. It's a mistake. I'm human. I got this lining up here. I got this line up here. This is close. I should be able to get that there when I get these two here straightened away. But this is what you're seeing here now. This is what I got cut out. Right? I left this here so I got something to lay against. And then I'll cut that out later with the grinder. But that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to clean this all up now, and I can start welding that in. So I went ahead and I grinded it all off, got it all cleaned up. You see me here now fitting it in place. I want to get this edge here fitting, this edge here fitting, and this one here fitting. So I turn around and I weld it in place. This is low here, not worried about it. This is low along here, not worried about it. This is high up here. All this can be worked. These edges here, you can't do nothing with them once they're welded in, okay? So these are crucial ones that you got to turn around and work with. Get them straightened away, get this straightened away, and get this straightened away. So I'm going to, not worry about none of this yet. I'm going to go ahead and grind or weld this up this section, dolly it, because this is low here, dolly that up. And do the same thing down here and get this all welded up. And get these corners dressed so I'm happy with them. Because if I'm not happy with them, I could just cut them off again, okay? So I'll get these welded up, and then we'll come back and start grinding it up. Got that one welded up. That one there is all welded up. And that one there is welded up. I'm going to grind dress them now, see what they looks like. If I'm happy with them, I can go on then and start welding everything else up. So I went ahead, I grinded it up. I had to re-weld a couple of spots again, but I'm happy with that. It's got a nice flow to it. Down here, same thing. Follows the belt line the way I wanted it to. Weld it up, nice and smooth along there. Back here, this is the crucial one. That belt line there, make sure that that there lines up nice with the other one. This here goes on nice here. This is the stuff, because I come from a trade being a bodyman. I would have to fill this stuff, okay? And there was nothing worse than someone welding a patch in the car and you come across a body line like this here and it's been overlapped. And then you got to try to make that smooth with filler. I used to hate it. And high spots like this on the edges of the doors and trunk lids and stuff like that, overlapping it, this will come up and be a big step in it and going over. This is the stuff that makes the big difference in making sure it fits nice. Once you get these points here ironed out, there's nothing to the panel then. I'm going to go ahead now and I'll go ahead and get this all welded up. Get this all welded up. I'm just going to put the brass in behind that and weld that up. Now I'm going to come up here and do the cut to fit, or cut the butt up along here. And then that panel will be in there. So I got it all welded up. Did the cut, the butt up here. It was a bit tricky. I welded it up across here, and then when I come down here, I realized this was all up. So I had to cut this here and then work this back over this way here and push this metal this way and then close up the gap here. But that was nothing. I just had to redo it. Just had to cut through that again. It's only metal. But I got now where I'm happy with everything. I'm just going to go ahead and blow through this and get it all welded up. I'll bring you back. It'll be welded up. Look at that. All welded up. All it is put the brass in on the back of that there. Looks like bubble gum, but it's nice and solid. I'm going to go ahead and I'll get this all grinded up and get this one finished. There you have it. Looking across that there, down along there. Nice rolled edge, nice rolled inside edge. Nice sharp edges along here. Nice sharp edges along here. The belt line is nice and straight. All right. All the contours are nice. But as you can see, you can basically make almost any panel you want. It's just that you can't overthink it, okay? You just got to turn around and break it down like 2 issues at a time, okay? Find 2 problems and then address them and move on from there. Just think ahead of, okay, I don't need to worry about this right now because I can get that later type thing, right? And a lot of times it'll take a bit of a trial and error, but you can see how I does a lot of this stuff is that I try to get everything mocked together in the shapes properly, and then I just weld everything up and don't worry about, you know, what the pieces look for. All I'm looking for is, like I was saying, I want to get this shape here, I want to get this shape here, this line here. Then I want to make sure I had a nice gap up along here. Then when I made the piece for that, I want to make sure it was that width there. And I just had to make sure that when I put this piece in here, it was on the right angle and it flowed to the side of the panel. And then I just put it on. I trimmed it all up after the fact. But it was a complicated section, but I just made it simple. Okay, I never used no fancy tools with this. I used the metal brake on this here, and you could have used your vise for that. The rest of it, grinder, tin snips, you know, the basic stuff that I got around the garage, and a MIG welder. A lot of you guys were asking about this here and wondering about how I was going to attack this, and now you know how I was going to attack it. Anyway, I hope the tips were good, and until next time.